Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richard Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. And it's been a while, it feels like, because we had to record the other show early last week. And so, I don't even remember what we talked about, but I do know that I had speculated that the Celtics would win the championship. And they ended up doing it. And I'm glad that they did it early. Because if they would have stretched it out and it would have turned into like the Florida Panthers, what they went through last night with the Game 7, to where the Game 7 for them felt like they were never in control. Once the first 3 games were over, I thought, hey, Florida wrapped this up. I'd watch the Game 4. Edmonton comes out, they kill them. It's very similar to how Dallas killed the Celtics in Game 4 when they could have got the sweep. And I thought, all right, now Florida's going to come back. They got it out of their system. And then they're getting killed again. And then they're getting killed again. And it's like, guys, what are you doing? You have it wrapped up. Canada doesn't have to get the cup back. It's been like 30 years. It's their favorite sport. Just with luck of draw, like they should at least be able to win one Stanley Cup. And they can't do it. They have all these historic franchises. The Canadians, the Maple Leafs, they can't do it. And so at this point, it's hilarious to watch teams like Florida come out and win the cup for the first time in franchise history. With a goalie that looked like he had fallen apart. Because they get an early goal, and then Edmonton comes down on a breakaway, and he had him. And the guy just tossed it right up over his shoulder. It was like, how did you get beat on that? And I thought there in his head that he's going to give up 4 more goals again. But for some reason, they were able to keep the puck out of the net. There were a couple close calls down the stretch, and I kept thinking, if Edmonton ties this, they're going to win the cup. Because Florida had, like, no fight. It was, like, the weirdest thing. And then even at the end, Edmonton got the puck in, and it just got stuck in the corner, and they never got it out for that last shot. And I thought, this is fitting. Florida just hanging on in the corner to the puck, and that's how it's going to end right here. Like, it had to be a bummer. Because was it Connor McDavid? Like, dude, he was the best guy by far. I think he won, the Conn Smythe? I don't know what the name of their trophies are. For, like, the best player in the entire playoffs. He almost willed them to victory. And he looked shattered after the game. I felt bad for him. Not that I wanted him to win. He can go to Carolina and become a Hurricane and then win a championship there. That'd be awesome. But out of principle, I can't cheer for a Canadian pro team. I always liked the Raptors growing up because their mascot was cool. And then it was like, no, son, time to grow up. You can't be pulling for a Canadian team. America all the way. Almost right in time for the 4th of July. They really could have took that from us. And instead, the cup's getting thrown in the ocean. They're down here swimming with it. Basically, we're swimming with sharks, right? Even though their mascot's Panthers. Is there even a panther still alive in Florida?
I'm sure there is.
You'd think that, but there probably isn't. Probably extinct. Think about it. People are releasing like pythons and stuff that aren't from there. Probably eating all the panthers. They have to be fighting for the same food, them and gators. Right? Trailer parks have to go somewhere, Matt. That's going to be right into Panther territory. Also, like I said, do you watch any of the Stanley Cup finals?
I watched a real little bit just because I was curious to see if they were actually if Edmonton was gonna pull it off. And in true Canadian fashion, they couldn't get it done.
All talk and no delivery. It was almost like they were destined to win too, because when you come back from 3-0, and then the game is so close. Because like last year, the Celtics came back against Miami. They were down 0-3. They stormed back, and it was like they're going to win Game 7. And then Tatum got hurt, and then things fell apart, and they couldn't get it done. Because I mean, he's a big key part of their roster. But like it was like if Edmonton would have had a key injury or something, but they didn't. So the entire time, I'm like, they're just going to get the equalizer here, and if it goes to overtime, they're winning 100%. And it's in Florida, which I think, like, that definitely paid off. that they had home ice, because that would have been, maybe that's why they came back. I don't know. But just getting that, it has to be good for their franchise. But like, it's funny to me that you have Florida teams winning it, because Tampa Bay just won it a couple times, didn't they? And you have all these teams that are like so far south, where it's not really even a hockey region, winning the Stanley Cup, and no northern team can really get it done anymore. It seems like. Even like, didn't Vegas win it? Like, they have these expansion franchises winning it before Canada wins it again. I would think that would have to be frustrating. I mean, do they win the Olympics? Probably not, right? Maybe Canada does win the Olympics. I don't know. It's Summer Olympics time, though. So we got other things happening.
On the topic of the Summer Olympics, I still feel, and I will continue to push this and will this into existence, I want there to be a demonstration of, like, they always show, like, the person going for the record, and they show the simulation of that person going really fast. I want to see the alternative of, like, some random person just jump in there and start doggy paddling across a pool. Like, how fast are you actually going? Like, let's see just a common person go up against these Olympians. Be like, are you really that much different? How far away can you pull away from? I want to see. Like here's the Olympic medal time. Here's the competitors, and here's just Bill from Des Moines, Iowa. And they just showed like the path of him just struggling to get across the pool.
Well, bro, they had that. They had Snoop Dogg run, and I thought, why? Why is he there? He's like, hey, he gets to check off every box in his life. He's like, you want to be on TV? Check. You want to do this? Check. It's Snoop Dogg. He's like the comedian. Like, they like use him for like everything. I don't get it. They're like, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to train for the Olympics. Like, I want to run the 200-meter dash. Like, oh, you're gonna lose by like 50 seconds. Like, all right, cool. Go head out there, buddy. And it's like, why? Did that take someone else's spot away just to have a celebrity there? Sometimes I just wonder, like, are they, I mean, obviously they're just doing it for TV ratings or something. But to your point, why not have Snoop race against just a regular guy? That's what I would want to see. Because I've been thinking about this a lot. Because as you get older and you become more aware of things, I've noticed that, like, a lot of movie actors are not athletic at all. So it takes me out of a movie when I see a dude, like, running, and I'm like, that guy's running so slow. Like, this is embarrassing. Like, this monster or whatever, like, you watching Godzilla or something, and it's like, Godzilla would have crushed this guy. He's probably running at, whatever, 0 pace. So I'm like, I hate watching movies now. I see a guy throw, and his arm looks like it's, like, bent, like it got hit in, like, a meat grinder or something. And that's how he's thrown, and they like try to cut it real fast so it doesn't look like his arm isn't working. And I'm like, hey, that's 100% fake. I know that guy can't really throw the ball. Or like, you watch it, because I'm going to get you, you're going to start picking up on this stuff. Watch like any movie and like you see a guy, he's like, I got to throw this grenade. And like his release point's like so far up, you're like, that probably would have went backwards, buddy. And then it like cuts and it's like a laser directly to where it needed to go. And I'm like, this is so fake, I can't take it. So that's what I want. I want to see, like, your idea. You have however many lanes they're trying, but then you also put, if you're going to put Snoop Dogg in, get an actor in there. Like, let's see some of these guys. Can they really run? They're like, some of them are like big, steroided out freaks. Because, like, let's be real. People call out WWE because all of the wrestlers are on roids. Right? They're not natural. But actors are the exact same way. Like Hugh Jackman getting ripped for Wolverine. He's 100% on roids. He's not eating healthy and doing all this stuff with the trainer. Like, no, he's just on roids. Like, if he's looking better than Tom Brady, the only difference is Tom Brady's doing the exact same stuff. He just gets tested for roids. They're not testing actors for performance-enhancing drugs. Right? There's a reason why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and John Cena can just magically go from wrestling to the movies because they're on the same regimen, right? You're going to go for Magic Mike, you just get it roided out for a while. And then boom, you're right there. And people are like, why isn't that realistic? And so that's what I want to see. Get some of these roid guys out there and have them run or jump or shot put or whatever. And then have an average guy do it. Like just have a lottery. And it's like, hey, it's Bill. He works at the local brewery. He's here to shot put. And you just have this big burly man out there. And then he's like up against Channing Tatum. And we'll see if those muscles are just for show, right? Because like, wasn't it like even Indiana Jones? He was like hanging drywall when they discovered him, right? He was a man's man, and they always bring it up like how, oh, he's so different than every actor. He's like an actual man. He's not like some fake little fairy boy out there playing pretend. Like he's a regular guy. He's still so believable that they have him playing in Star Wars and Indiana Jones when he's like 80 years old. He's breaking his hip on the set. But they're like, we can't get any more realistic than this. We got to have him back. Harrison Ford, come on, my man. So I want to take your idea and take it a step further and have the average guys and the Olympians both compete against actors. Plus, then everyone would see how short the actors really are in real life, too. Could you imagine, like, Stallone coming out with, like, 12-inch heels? He's, like, doing a long jump. All right, heck, he boxes, right? He had to train for that. What if he did a little box sparring? And here's Sly Stallone, just like in the movie. They could just call him Rocky. I'd want to see that. But that's what I would like to see from the Olympics. Give me something intriguing. Don't do the tape delay either. But you want to get young kids to watch it. That's how you'd get them to watch it. Let them come in. Let them compete against like YouTube stars or whatever too. Like Logan Paul, he's boxing or whatever now. Let's see if he actually has it. Maybe he's a better athlete than a lot of these actors. Then I'd believe it. Then I'd know who's more talented. Right, Pat McAfee, he's out there doing like all kind of weird stuff. They are pumping him everywhere. I don't know if you've noticed that. But like he had his little thing that happened with Caitlin Clark where he called her a bitch. It's like, what are you doing, dude? And he did his apology tour, and now he's playing soccer with like other ex-athletes or something. It's like ESPN's ponying him around like he's the next big thing. He's doing WWE. Like his social media team has to just be hammering him everywhere.
Yeah.
It's getting insane.
Well, when I was on vacation, we were out at a restaurant, and I saw his show was on, and I don't watch it ever. But there was like a disclaimer at the bottom. It was just like, this is for entertainment value. Like, anything that he says is not a reflection of ESPN or management or anyone. Like, literally, this is just him because we know that other people like him and that he's making us money. But if he says something that offends you, please don't sue us. Was essentially the gist of like just a ticker that was running at the bottom of his show. It's like, really?
Well, see, he came out. He wasn't even out of nowhere because he started on like the Bob and Tom show in Indianapolis when he was a Colt. He would come on. He started to do like stand up in the area.
Yeah.
So like I was aware of him, but once he got on, like once he retired and kind of got on his own podcast or whatever, it started to like really take off with it. And now ESPN, they try to do like the Barstool thing, right? Bring them in. It didn't really work. Now they seem to be like, Pat McAfee is the next best thing. And it's actually kind of working for us, where they built him a set and he's kind of just always standing up. And I'm like, that's what I should do on our show. Just stand here and yell at you. Especially during football season. Like, no, you're wrong, bro. Tomlin needs to go. He's like a light version of John Harbaugh. I don't have any stats right now to back it up, but I was thinking that today. I don't even know why it popped in my head. I was just thinking, man, Mike Tomlin's still here. And I'm thinking the Steelers have no hype. And the Ravens are probably going to be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl again. I think that might have been what sparked it. I think I saw something that had like the Ravens as one of the favorites. And I was thinking, John Harbaugh and Tomlin have been there about the same amount of time. They both won, one Super Bowl? I would imagine John Harbaugh has more division titles, but maybe I'm wrong. I didn't do the stats yet. I wasn't planning on bringing this up until training camp. But since we're on the random thing, I could sit here and just yell at you all day about why is everyone mad at John Harbaugh, but like Tomlin's like a light version of him. They haven't won playoff games. People were like, they need to fire John Harbaugh. He hasn't won a playoff game. I'm like, Tomlin is barely 500, guys.
Look, I appreciate our fan support, but our fan support isn't allowing me to quit my job by really getting controversial on that topic.
I know. That's where I'll see what's happening up with some of the stuff. I forgot to mention it. I'm still working on consolidating some of the sites and things social media wise. I am toying with an idea of having Southbound Sports maybe just run .com as kind of like its own like parallel blog with the Spotify thing, because some of the things we're supposed to be able to fill out, like host information and some other stuff, we really don't have access to. It seems like it's invite only, which they give us an invite for some things but not others. So it's like, all right, kind of weird, but I can't really point to our YouTube either as prominently as I would like, because they probably want you to stay in Spotify. So I like the Spotify hosting, I'm not going to lie. It is really nice. But I am thinking that maybe I'm going to have an alternative feed for just people on the web too. Because I am getting a lot of people reaching out. They're like, hey, I searched for you guys. You still come up on Facebook. But I took that down. So now I need to replace it kind of with something else. So I am working on that for those that have reached out. And I'll try to keep you guys updated on what I figure out, because I'd rather have something that I have total control on. We don't have control on Facebook. If Facebook decides not to show our episode, they don't show it. That's why we're just trying to have everything in one place where if you want to find it, you can find it. People are finding it. It's been great. Even our YouTube has been up, which has been awesome. I've been trying to do some YouTube shorts, like when I go to the Mudcats games and things, pop some extra content on when I'm out, just on my phone, because it's easy. So I do like doing that when we're also doing the show. So maybe I can mix in some of the other stuff that we do. But if people like it, dude, I'm definitely gonna keep growing, because I think that'll be an easy way to grow. So make sure you follow on YouTube too, for those of you that don't watch the live show. The podcast still posts on YouTube, and we have some other videos and stuff that we're uploading there too. But that's my little intermediate segue there. Let's see what else. I had another one on here for the championship. Oh, the UFL. So the UFL kind of went exactly how I thought it was going to go, where you had Birmingham and the XFL side. Is that the side they were on? They looked like... Is Birmingham AFL? AAF?
Yeah, Birmingham would have been USFL. San Antonio would have been XFL.
Okay. Because we got a complete blowout is what ended up happening. And my fear was, by not mixing them up, you kind of had one side, like Birmingham came in and they have been loaded, and there's no parity in that division, right? Birmingham was far and away the best team the entire year. I think they locked the playoff spot up first. And then they came in the playoffs, and then you saw the same exact thing, where they were behind Michigan. And so they were close, and we were like, holy crap, Michigan could pull this off and really upset. It would have been great for the league. But it didn't happen. Birmingham comes back, puts things together, and then they crushed them in the championship game. It wasn't even a game. And I remember watching, and the announcers were like, there was 6 minutes left or something in the fourth. And they were coming down. I think it was like an interception or something. And they were really trying to sell it like, they need to score here, and then they could make this a game. And I was thinking, they're still down with 3 scores. They score this, there's no time. They're not making it a game, and they threw an interception, I think. And that was pretty much it. But I thought, man, this has to be one of the most boring things to televise. Because, even I was trying to compare it because I didn't see the NBA ratings yet, but the NBA games were all blowouts. I said I'm still sold, even more so now that the Celtics won. Looking at the stats, Celtics were so much better than every other team this year that I don't know why people were betting on Dallas. Like, I still have no idea why ESPN and all these other media outlets were running that, the Mavs, they're going to be a great bet for underdogs. Like, you're going to win a lot of money. They have a great chance of pulling it off. And then they got stomped. And I still think, how many people bet on them? Because they said at one point it was like 80% of the bets coming in were on the Dallas side. That's 80% of people watching the game have to be feeling it in their pit of their stomach, bro. I mean, heck, like, remember when they did those, like, penny bets? Like, I'm betting pennies, you're like, holy crap, I'm going to lose this whole parlay. Dang. Dang, Washington State, whatever. Like, you're, like, betting on random teams. It's not even Washington. You're, like, Texas Southern or something like that. You're like, what the heck? Who even know these guys? There's 5 people in the stands, and they're blowing my bet. So imagine if you're betting real money on the Mavs because the media told you to. And then you were like, oh my God, all I had to do was look at the roster and saw that the Celtics were stacked. And they had the best record. And they barely lost this year. And now they just killed. And then I saw a bunch of people, they were doing the recaps, and it was like, yeah, that was a pretty boring playoff. I was like, yeah, no shit. But people still bet on the Mavs. And that's what I can't wrap my head around. Because someone was telling them to bet on the Mavs. And nothing against the Mavs. Luka's great. Kyrie kind of does his thing. They're real ripping on Kyrie about the flat earth thing, dude. I was laughing really hard. I'll have to tell you about it after the show. But I just couldn't, I couldn't take it. I felt bad for Mavs fans because, like, they had to get real hype. And I've seen that happen before. Back in the Brady Hoke days where people were like, hey, Michigan has a great chance to beat Ohio State this year, and you get really pumped up. And then Cardell Jones was running all over the field. Actually, I don't think he played that year. Didn't he only come in because Michigan hurt JT Barrett? I can't remember. But like every year, you're just getting full of disappointment. And that's how the Mavs fans had to feel. Getting pumped up by the media, like, we're back, baby. This is going to be great. Luka's awesome. Instead, he's crying. Porzingis got hurt, and I thought, this could be it. This could be the Tatum injury like last year where Porzingis was hurt after he tore up game 1. And it didn't even matter. They put his limping ass in the 5th game because they had, like, such a big lead that they're like, yeah, we need to get him some minutes. And then they played it off like he can't play in the Olympics this year because he was that hurt. And then I was thinking, they put him in the finals, game 5. Just because they wanted him to get some touches in the final game because they knew they were killing him that bad. That this guy can't even run. But we want him to play because we like him. And then he'd go get his surgery after. But that's a freak injury too. Did you see what I never even heard of what he had happen. But I guess he broke the bone like on the side of his foot or something. And then it's like a bone that holds a ligament in place. So then his ligament kept popping out of place. So they have to, like, put a rod in or something and then let that heal up. Because otherwise his ankle's just, like, flopping around in there. And I'm thinking, why did he play? Like, why would he come back and risk that? He already had a great game 1. So as a Celtics fan, I'm not going to be like, well, he's not really part of the team. He didn't play. He got hurt. Like, he killed game 1. They could have gave him MVP this series, and I'd have been like, yeah, all right, awesome. He got hurt. It's not his fault. But that's the one thing that I thought. And then the Celtics signed everybody. They already have everyone signed for next year. So I was thinking, like, if you're a gambling man, watch and see what teams kind of make moves. But there's no doubt in my mind that the Celtics have a great chance for round 2, especially if Porzingis stays healthy. Porzingis was the 6th man. He wasn't even the starter. Every other guy's back. That's where, like, Florida went in the Cup. With hockey, you kind of never know. You can have a core group of guys, but you can't get them all back. you can't get your top 6 guys to play most of your minutes back. Because that's not how it works in hockey. You have like 4 lines or whatever. So you have to have a ton of different dudes that rotate in and out and a little bit of luck. With basketball, you can have your entire team come back like Golden State did and win 3 or 4 championships. And I think that's why the Lakers were kind of upset. Because LeBron was like, the Lakers are really cheering against this championship for the Celtics because they don't want them to get 18. But I was thinking it's because they know the team's back. If they get 18, what's stopping them from getting 19, 20? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Basketball usually comes in runs. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Luka came back and made that run. On the opposite hand, I didn't have this on the show notes, but the College Men's World Series, I saw a lot of Tennessee fans were like, wow, great series, A&M. Don't worry, your team's going to win a championship in a next couple years. You're that good. And I thought, baseball doesn't work like that. What a weird thing to say. Like, it'd be like if Michigan crushes Washington like we did. And then I was like telling Washington fans, don't worry, I'm sure you guys will win. And then DeBoer just walks out the door. Because that's exactly what A&M's coach did. He walked out the door. He went to Texas, right? And it made me think, because I've been saying this, and Matt brought up the A&M going to the Big Ten. I've been saying that is not just a sneaky feeling for me. I'm hearing some things about A&M and how the Big Ten really wants in Texas. Think about it. Fox is their main primary network partner, right? They had the Big 12, which had Oklahoma and Texas, and they had Nebraska back in the day and everything. So they bring in Nebraska. Nebraska's supposed to compete kind of in that market. They've fallen off the map. They need to get into Texas. They had a chance. There were the rumors where maybe the Oklahoma and Texas years ago were going to go to the Pac-12, and that kind of fell apart, which inevitably led to the Pac-12 blowing up. If the Big Ten would have somehow been able to get them to go to the Pac-12 and then just did a full-on Pac-12 Big Ten merger, I think they would have had the most powerful conference by far. The Big Ten is still head and shoulders above the SEC in terms of markets and branding right now. The SEC is still regionalized. The only 2 key points right now that the Big Ten doesn't have at the moment, because this could change by the time this show airs. Who knows what will happen in the middle of the night. Florida, the Big Ten's not in Florida. The Big Ten is not in Texas. Texas doesn't really have a lot of teams left. They could go TCU, Texas Tech maybe. But if I'm the Big Ten and you're already winning with the money aspect of things, you call Texas. I think Texas is happy where they are in the SEC. They seem like they're going to get that recruiting bump. It's new right now. They're getting coaches from A&M. And that's the thing that makes me think that A&M would be the second call. And A&M would answer that call. Because everything that they had over Texas before, being in the SEC, getting the recruiting bump, being able to pay more because A&M was making more. Now Texas is back on that level. The only place for A&M to really go to stand out is if they join the Big Ten and they start making more money. And I've been saying, like, hey, Notre Dame needs like a travel partner. And I've been saying, like, oh, why doesn't the Big Ten grab like Florida State and North Carolina? And then they can grab like Virginia and Notre Dame. But now that I'm thinking about it, why don't they just grab Florida State and North Carolina and then grab Notre Dame and A&M? Then you're in a bunch of SEC type markets and you're going to lock down the entire country at that point. Because there's no other brands out there that could compete with North Carolina, Florida State that are left available, and Notre Dame. You add in A&M, directly pulling from the SEC. The SEC can't backfill A&M with a team that's just as good because there are none left. They might be able to grab Clemson, but the Big Ten could just grab Clemson too and say, you know what, let's just grab Clemson and Miami and see what happens. Because I think the Big Ten right now is at 18? So that if they grab those, what was that, 6? That gives them an even 24. Which I think would be enough right now where they could stop and say, look, let's let this settle for a few years and see what happens. You don't need to grab Pitt. You don't need to grab a bunch of other teams. Let the rest of the things kind of fall. There's no way the SEC can get into Chicago. There's no way the SEC can get into like LA. They could grab like Stanford or something, which would be weird. And it's already weird with ACC grabbing them. They couldn't really get into New York. They could grab Syracuse, but that would be like out of left field. And that's not really new. That's upstate New York. It's nowhere near New York City. So that would be kind of a weird flex by the SEC to grab the Cuse. So I think that would be, if I'm the Big Ten leaders, that's what I'm looking at right now. You still want to grab Notre Dame. Notre Dame board leaked out that their projections with the NIL type stuff is that they could be $30 million behind other teams in their state, which would be Indiana and Purdue. I don't care how big your boosters are or how great your team is. You're not making up $30 million a year in booster money. Once the boosters start giving you money, like we're going to see with Ohio State this year. Boosters went all in on Ohio State. There's rumors that they've paid over $15 million for their roster in terms of transfers and like getting new recruits in. They have the highest blue chip ratio that just came out, 90%. Ohio State has to win. If they don't win this year, and I'm not saying a national championship, they could probably fall short as long as they beat Michigan. But they have to beat Michigan. They've lost 3 years in a row. It's at home. They have to do it. They haven't won the Big Ten in 3 years. So they've won realistically nothing with a more talented roster, right? They haven't won bowl games. They lost to Georgia, remember, with that missed field goal. And then last year they lost to like Missouri, right? So boosters come together, they pay. It's going to be like an A&M scenario. If they don't get the return on investment, they're not going to keep paying over $50 million for their roster every year. It doesn't make any sense, right? They're not just going to be throwing money away. And that's where I think some of these NIL teams, like A&M had to go through, they changed, and now they went from having Jimbo Fisher, a big money coach, to a guy from Duke that was winning with less because they knew that the boosters weren't going to pay that. And so that's where I think we're still going to see that shift, but the Big Ten could pretty much say game over. The first thing they have to do, though, is add Florida State, July 1st?
Yep.
And that's coming up. So before next week's show, maybe we'll have some answers. Florida State's the big key. I've honestly viewed Florida more important than Texas right now. If they can get into Florida, even if they can't get North Carolina, losing North Carolina to the SEC I really don't think matters. Nothing against North Carolina. But they don't bring the football eyeballs. And as we've seen before, the other sports don't really matter in terms of money. Otherwise, the ACC with all their basketball championships would be getting more money than what they do. So I understand where North Carolina is. There's no SEC or Big Ten team in the state. That's a brand new state that they can lock up. So Big Ten, add them, Florida State, then grab Clemson and Miami, or Clemson and Georgia Tech. That'd be my preference. But I understand Miami has some power, especially like if you're trying to dig into like baseball and some of these other sports. Because like Tennessee wins their first men's World Series championship. And everyone's talking about like how it's an SEC thing because the ACC had so many teams in and they couldn't make it to the championship. But it's hard to win a championship. Coastal Carolina made it. You didn't hear about their conference getting a bump. They've been gone. But I think that's all I have for the championship talk. Any championships you want to talk about from this past week? You're already tuned out, bro.
What?
You're falling asleep on me, my man. You had your rough week.
It's been a rough week.
Any championships you want to talk about this week?
I don't know.
Anything else you had? Because I really don't have anything else. I mean, we're still in the heavy off-season stuff. So I don't think I have too much I want to talk about.
trying to think with this earlier part. I mean, it's been a rough patch for us here.
Well, now we're done with pretty much everything. There were some big things that were coming up. Mike Tyson was supposed to fight that Paul guy, and then he got hurt. And then Conor McGregor got hurt. And so I was like, man, I'm not interested in any of these other fights that seem like they're happening every weekend. They're really pushing the WNBA, and I'm really not interested in that either. And as fans of the show that have listened for a while, they know that we really don't pay attention to baseball until like October. Because it doesn't really matter what happens. There are going to be some moves. You hear about the hyped up Pirates moves every year. They're really going after their pitcher, and they're still below 500. So why? Well, I don't understand it. So like the Braves are still in the wild card right now. They've been kind of faltering, but then they tore off a bunch of losses and then came back and they're 7-3 in their last 10. So you have some injuries, got to make some moves. But baseball's so long, they're looking at it in a one game, like 1 week even at a time. It doesn't make any sense. Team got to get hot at the end of the year, and by that time it's football season. So we'll see. If the Braves or Pirates aren't in it, then we probably really won't talk about it anyway, right?
Although I am curious to see what's going to happen with the projections for the WNBA, because the Caitlin Clark effect is definitely having an impact right now, and they're pushing to bigger venues to accommodate the Indiana games, and so I feel like it is going to be something to follow, because when they're pushing to get like this double-edged sword of, we don't want to provide any special coverage for her, but also she's getting us so much more viewership that it's making the entire league more visible to the general population. I think they're just going to have to lean into it and overcome their cattiness to build the league if they really want it to thrive.
Well, see, they have to build it now, because right now the major networks, like the regular TV channels for this year, they're saying are averaging like 1 million viewers, where last year they were only averaging 400,000. Let's be real. They've been putting Caitlin Clark in a lot of those Big Ten games. I think her game that they just played against Angel Reese's team, I don't know which teams they play on. I know Caitlin Clark's with Indiana. They had like 2.3 million on ESPN, which was the most WNBA game since Disney bought the rights years ago. Like, they've been broadcasting it for what? It seems like forever now. Probably since like the NBA bought it. But people have to continue to watch. And even though it seems like they're killing it, that's still not a ton of numbers, if we're being honest, right? Because I want to say that the WWE has way better ratings, right? They're getting like 15 million per week, and they do a bunch of different shows. I don't know how many WNBA games are on, but I wonder if WNBA is getting 15 million viewers a week. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what the ratings I want to see, because WWE, their ratings are kind of weird, because they're like, we have them all. We're just going to tell people what everyone's watching for the week. But it could be the same dude watching 15 events, right? You don't know. WNBA, though, could be the same. So I would like to see them kind of add them up. Because if they're getting, how many WNBA games are even on? Like, some of them are only getting a couple 100,000 or 46,000. What's the total number for the week against another sport that people watch? And you know that the social media hype for WNBA isn't anywhere near WWE. But in terms of like secondary sports, to me, that's where they kind of need to go up against. That or the UFC. Right? Boxing, not so much anymore. I guess that's kind of fallen off. I don't know what kind of ratings they get. They do pay-per-view, so it's kind of different. Same with UFC for a lot of their stuff. But that's where the WNBA, there's a clear line where it's like, we could watch WNBA, but I remember, wasn't bowling getting like 500,000 viewers last time we looked? And like poker? So like...
It might have.
So then like WNBA, like they're showing all these great numbers, but I think the last time there was a spike, it was like, but they're behind poker and bowling. And that's like the eye-opening thing, where it's like, oh, bowling is getting better ratings. Then that's kind of like an issue, because I'm looking to see, because I don't know how many events are on. Yeah, they have the things right there. Like Fox is doing the bowling things. Some of their stuff is just like, yeah, so some of their events are averaging 800,000. So where before, bowling was getting more than the 400,000 the WNBA was getting whenever they were on major TV, which is weird, right? Because like, how many people are watching bowling? But I know poker was even higher. That's why ESPN had it on all the time. They were like, all right, there we go. I think even Peacock, one of the poker things was one of the highest rated things that they had. But I don't know if it was real poker or not. I haven't really watched it. Right? How am I supposed to know? But we'll see what happens with the downtime now. Because now they're not up against the NBA, NHL, and college sports are done. You have whatever other things that we talked about. UFL is done. It is only right now the WNBA, Major League Baseball, and the Olympics. Am I right?
Yeah.
Did I miss anything? So this is a pure dead period of dead periods. So we'll see what happens. Anything else you want to talk about this week? I don't really have much more, to be honest.
No, I mean, we should have some 7-on-7 stuff to discuss next week, and
oh yeah, that should be starting up. We haven't had that yet.
Yeah, getting into that next week.
We also have the college football game coming out. I haven't pre-ordered or anything. I know they have the deluxe edition. I was curious, did you get the deluxe edition or did you go with the regular edition?
Oh, go big or go home, dog.
Well, the reason I ask is because like Game Pass just gave out like the deluxe edition of the PGA Tour game that just came out. And I was wondering, like, are they just going to give out the deluxe edition of EA College Football too? So I'm like, do I hold off and wait? Because I'm probably not going to get the deluxe because I don't care about the online anyway. But now I'm wondering, what other deals? Because they're already giving 10% off if you buy digital, because I don't have any discs because I don't care. And if you buy like extra Xboxes or whatever, then you can play them on multiple devices. So I'm waiting to see. But I would like them to kind of answer about the PC version, because I'm still holding out hope that maybe next year, if it sells. People were complaining about they put out some of their ratings that have been coming out, and they put out like the toughest stadiums. And the ratings didn't make any sense, I'll be honest. Because like they had South Carolina up there ahead of like some other stadiums, and I'm like, why? South Carolina is not a tough place to play. And they had Tennessee down on the list, and Tennessee's stadium is gigantic and loud. Like there's no reason Tennessee should be, I don't remember where they were exactly, but they shouldn't be below South Carolina. I think they had Michigan down there too, below South Carolina. It's like, why? They said in one thing that they were looking at recent records. Michigan hasn't lost in like the past 3 years. So like, how would they be lower than South Carolina that loses all the time? I feel like they're just making it up. If you're making up the ratings, then it's not going to be good. Like, I don't think West Virginia was on there, which that's kind of a tough place to play because you're up in the mountains, a little bit of high elevation. The stands are kind of just down on you, and it's always packed. And it's not like the away team travels to West Virginia, right? So it's usually only a home crowd. I would think those would have been things that they're looking at. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't really care about the home field advantage thing. We'll see if it's in the game, though. Because back in the day, remember the game used to shake. And I don't think it ever did in Madden, but in the NCAA one, if you got the crowd pumped up and you needed a big stop on defense, it would shake and cause guys to jump off sides and things like real life. That's what I want to see if they brought that back. Probably not, though. I'm hoping, because people have been really interested in that. I've been getting a lot of messages about the college football game. So I am excited. And that is something that I'll probably be putting out some decent amount of content on when it comes out. But that's all I have for this week. Anything else you want to talk about for the final bell?
No, that's about it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Like I said, getting things in a good place. It looks like the streaming was well this week. So hopefully the upgrades to my office will continue. And trying to get the show in great shape before football season starts, because I'm excited for another great year. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.